My name is Harper Chen, and 90 days ago, I sat frozen while my manager publicly humiliated me in front of our whole team. She pulled up everything I'd built over 12 months, called it useless, then hit delete while everyone watched. What she didn't know? She'd just destroyed the invisible threads keeping our entire business alive. And when my phone lit up 30 seconds later with a job offer worth more than I'd ever imagined, I realized something beautiful. She'd just armed me with the perfect tool for the most beautiful downfall I could have dreamed up. Before I walk you through how her world collapsed right in front of my eyes, do me a favor, smash that like button and hit subscribe. Because what you're about to hear proves that sometimes cruelty boomerangs back harder than anyone expects. You need to hear how this played out. Every detail matters. The beginning. Let me rewind to where it really begins. Because stories like this, they simmer long before they explode. 20 months back, I started at Sterling Insights, Client Success Manager. Sounded dull on paper. Keep records clean, schedule calls, track happiness metrics, what they left out. Our company was bleeding accounts like a broken dam. The person before me quit after 16 weeks. No goodbye, just gone. My boss, Diana Rothwell, made her opinion clear from hour one. She thought my job was dead weight. Diana lived in spreadsheets. To her, business was math. Invoices out, services rendered, payments collected, loop complete. The thought that clients wanted genuine connection, totally alien to her rigid system. But I saw cracks everywhere those first few weeks. Client files were graveyards, robotic message logs, zero warmth, zero personality. No one had ever bothered learning anything real about the people sending us tens of thousands monthly. So I started something radical. I treated clients like people. Building connections, Marcus Donovan ran a manufacturing operation. During a standard check-in, he mentioned his rescue dog was struggling with arthritis. I made a note. Followed up 2 weeks later asking how the treatment worked. He sounded shocked, someone remembered. Spent 30 minutes telling me about the new vet he'd found 3 towns over. When Natalie Pierce hit her company's 10th anniversary, I sent a real message. Asked about her vision moving forward. She booked an extra session. 14,000 in unexpected revenue. These weren't expensive moves. I just listened. Remembered what mattered. Showed I cared beyond the invoice. Diana never got it. She'd pass my desk, see me typing what looked like friendly notes, and I could feel her judgment burning into my back. Monthly reviews were torture. Why do calls take you 45 minutes when they should take 12? She'd snap, tapping her pen like a metronome. Your efficiency numbers are below target. You're processing fewer contacts per hour than you should. I tried explaining. Longer talks built stronger bonds. Clients asked for me by name on new projects. Our retention jumped 37% since I'd personalized everything. Diana only saw numbers that didn't fit her formulas. What she missed completely? I was becoming the bridge between our firm and the people funding it. The Invisible Foundation. Owen Caldwell owned a bookstore chain. Started calling me directly instead of our main line. Said he appreciated someone who remembered his obsession with noir fiction and his son studying architecture overseas. Miranda Hayes ran a catering empire. Our third biggest account. Began recommending us specifically because she loved chatting about her farmer's market finds and her mom's old recipes. Month after month, satisfaction scores climbed while Diana obsessed over speed metrics that completely missed reality. She measured how fast we processed interactions. I built loyalty determining whether those interactions kept happening. The breaking point. Everything shattered during our yearly planning summit. Our CEO, Julian Brooks, reviewed department wins, mentioned retention hit record highs, praised our personal approach. suggested rolling it out company-wide. I watched Diana's face twist as credit landed on what she considered my wasteful methods. After the meeting, she cornered me by the storage closet. "I don't know what performance act you're running," she hissed, "but this firm succeeds on professional excellence, not social hour chit-chat." She assigned me a massive audit. Document every client touch, every note, every connection building effort from the past year. Obviously, punishment. Hundreds of hours buried in paperwork instead of doing what actually worked. But I attacked that audit with the same care I gave clients. Created detailed records showing not just communications, but how they translated to outcomes. Documented Miranda's referrals. Owen's expanded services after we discussed his growth plans. The early renewal Marcus signed because he trusted our partnership. 53 pages proving personal attention drove over $200,000 in extra revenue. Every casual weekend chat or family question had cemented business relationships competitors couldn't touch with their generic approach. I was proud. It captured a year of real connections that transformed how we related to people trusting us with their business, which made what came next absolutely crushing. The public execution. Diana called an emergency team meeting on a cold Tuesday in November. Said we needed to review relationship protocols. My audit would be the example. I thought she'd finally admit personal attention was working. Instead, she made me display my files on the big screen while 23 people watched, then dissected every personal note, every detail, every connection as proof of unprofessional boundary crossing. "This is the inefficiency destroying our standards," she declared, scrolling through months of careful work. "Personal gossip about pets and hobbies doesn't belong in business. These files show complete failure to maintain professional distance." Heat crawled up my neck as coworkers watched her shred work that had generated massive revenue. She was turning my biggest achievement into a warning about what not to do. Then she crossed a line I never saw coming. She opened the file holding my complete audit database. Every client note, every detail, every conversation proving personal attention worked. Her cursor moved toward delete while she kept lecturing about standards. "This whole approach is trash," she announced, hand hovering over the button. "Starting now, we return to efficient professional protocols." She clicked. A year of relationship building vanished from the screen. 53 pages documenting connections worth hundreds of thousands, gone in one vindictive click. Silence swallowed the room as everyone processed what just happened. Diana turned away, satisfaction radiating, clearly expecting me to accept this humiliation and rebuild according to her rules. But she'd miscalculated one critical thing: the phone call. While she destroyed my documentation, she hadn't destroyed the actual relationships. The clients who trusted me, called me directly, shared their lives. Those bonds lived in hearts and minds, not computer files. And some of those connections had been watching our company dynamics closer than anyone realized. My phone buzzed before Diana finished explaining her new protocols. Caller ID showed Summit Consulting, a firm formed when 3 former industry leaders launched their own company. I stepped out, hands still shaking from watching my work die publicly. "Harper," the voice said, "we've been watching what's happening at Sterling. We need to talk." What followed changed everything. Summit had tracked our retention improvements, knew exactly who drove the relationships keeping major accounts happy. They'd planned approaching me for months. Watching Diana destroy my audit convinced them timing was perfect. "We're offering you $500,000 annually," they said, "plus equity and complete autonomy over relationship strategy. We believe personal attention is the future, and we want you building that future with us." 500,000. More than double my current pay. Working for people who valued what Diana called worthless inefficiency. But the most beautiful part wasn't the money. We know you can't bring proprietary information, they continued, but client relationships are built on trust, not database files. If you join us and clients choose working with someone they trust over someone treating them like transaction numbers, that's natural consequence of different philosophies. I understood immediately. They weren't asking me to steal clients or break agreements. Just pointing out that if I left and clients preferred someone who remembered their dog's arthritis and their son's college major, that was their choice. The announcement. Walking back into the conference room, Diana was still lecturing about efficiency, while my former coworkers stared at their hands, clearly uncomfortable. She noticed me, paused. Questions about our new protocols? I looked around, at people I'd worked beside for 20 months, at the blank screen where my audit had been, back at Diana's expectant face. Actually, I said, I have an announcement. What happened next became the sweetest moment of my professional life. But I want to pause here because the revenge that followed was so perfectly orchestrated by Diana herself that you need to hear exactly how her actions created dominoes, toppling everything she thought she protected. The beauty wasn't me planning elaborate schemes. The beauty was that deleting my relationship work had just eliminated the only thing keeping our biggest clients from walking. She thought she deleted inefficient documentation. She actually deleted the foundation of customer loyalty built over a year. Loyalty that could vanish in weeks. And when my phone rang with that $500,000 offer, I realized she'd handed me the key to the most elegant revenge possible. Simply letting natural consequences unfold while she watched everything she controlled slip away forever. The resignation. I'm leaving Sterling Insights immediately, I said, voice steady despite adrenaline flooding my system. Joining Summit Consulting as their Director of Client Relations. Complete silence. You could hear the AC humming. Someone's pen clicking nervously. Diana's expression shifted from smug to confused to something resembling panic. You can't quit mid-meeting, she stammered, thrown off completely. There are protocols, notice periods, transition procedures. Actually, I replied, showing my phone with the contract. My employment terms allow immediate resignation for hostile environment or professional misconduct. Having my work deleted publicly while being humiliated qualifies on both. Julian Brooks, observing quietly from the back, stepped forward. Perhaps we should discuss this privately before hasty decisions. But I was done with private discussions and diplomatic solutions. Diana chose public humiliation. She'd experience consequences just as publicly. Nothing to discuss, I said, gathering my items. Decisions final. Formal paperwork within the hour. Walking toward the exit, I felt 23 pairs of eyes tracking me. Some looked shocked, others impressed. A few looked like they were reconsidering their own careers. Diana called after me, voice higher than usual. You're making a massive mistake. Summit's a startup with no track record. You're throwing away security for some fantasy about relationships mattering more than standards. I paused at the door, turned back. We'll see which approach proves valuable. The exodus begins within 24 hours. I'd cleared my desk, finished exit interviews, started at Summit. Their office was smaller but electric with energy about building something innovative. More importantly, I finally worked with people understanding that business relationships were built on genuine human connection, not efficiency metrics. But real validation came in the following weeks as I watched natural consequences of Diana's actions unfold with devastating precision. I hadn't contacted any Sterling clients. No sales calls, no recruitment messages. I simply updated my profiles reflecting my new position and kept being the same person who'd spent a year building authentic relationships. The first call came Thursday morning, 3 days after starting. Marcus Donovan, the manufacturing owner whose rescue dog I'd asked about, Harper, he said, heard through the network you've moved, wanted to congratulate you and ask about your new firm's capabilities. We talked an hour about his needs, expansion plans, and yes, his dog's improved mobility. By conversation's end, he'd scheduled a meeting discussing transitioning his account to Summit. Second call came that afternoon. Natalie Pierce, whose anniversary I'd celebrated, wanted to discuss upcoming projects with someone understanding her business philosophy. I've worked with consulting firms 13 years, she told me. You're the first person making me feel my company mattered beyond the invoice. If you're offering the same attention at your new firm, I'm interested in switching. By week's end, I'd received calls from 6 former Sterling clients. Not because I'd solicited them, because they preferred working with someone treating them as individuals instead of account numbers. Diana's panic. Meanwhile, at Sterling, Diana was starting to realize what she'd actually deleted. I heard about her growing panic through professional connections. She'd tried routine check-ins with major clients, only discovering many weren't interested in continuing contracts. When she called Marcus for his quarterly review, he politely said he was exploring other options and wouldn't renew his annual agreement. When she contacted Natalie about upcoming needs, Natalie explained she'd found a partner better understanding her values. One by one, clients I'd spent a year building relationships with chose working with someone remembering their personal details, business challenges, individual preferences. Diana believed client loyalty tied to Sterling's brand and service quality. She was discovering loyalty actually tied to personal connections, making people feel valued and understood. The lecture. Third week after my departure, I got a call making everything clear about how devastating Diana's decision had become. Owen Caldwell, the bookstore owner who'd started calling me directly, wanted to share information he thought I should know. Diana called yesterday, he said. Asked if service issues explained why I was considering other options. When I said I was following you to Summit because I valued our connection, she actually argued with me? He laughed, but not like it was funny. Told me professional relationships should be based on service quality, not personal chit-chat about books and family. Said I was making an emotional decision instead of a business decision, can you believe it? Lecturing me about how I should choose my own consultants. That call revealed everything about why Diana's approach was failing so spectacularly. Even faced with evidence that personal relationships drove client decisions, she couldn't adjust her philosophy. Still trying to convince people efficiency metrics mattered more than feeling valued. The collapse. By month's end, 14 former Sterling clients had either switched to Summit or started transition conversations, not small accounts. Over 60% of Sterling's annual revenue. I wasn't actively recruiting, just being available when they called, remembering details about their lives and businesses, providing the same personal attention that built our relationships initially. Summit was thriving beyond their most optimistic projections. Sterling Analytics was experiencing their worst retention crisis in history. The most satisfying part wasn't money or success, though both were incredible. The most satisfying part was knowing Diana created this entire situation herself through stubborn refusal to value what clients actually wanted. She could have supported my approach, learned from improved retention and satisfaction. Recognized personal attention was generating measurable results. Instead, she chose public humiliation and deleted work, representing hundreds of thousands in loyalty, apparently believing her efficiency philosophy mattered more than actual evidence. The emergency. 2 months after my departure, I heard through networks that Julian Brooks called an emergency board meeting addressing the retention crisis. Sterling faced possible layoffs, reduced operations, potentially selling to survive revenue loss. Diana, so confident about her standards and metrics, was now scrambling to explain how they'd lost most major accounts within 8 weeks. According to sources still working there, she initially tried blaming my departure, arguing I'd somehow poisoned relationships or violated ethics to steal accounts. But the timeline didn't support accusations. Clients weren't leaving immediately after I resigned. They were leaving after attempting to maintain relationships with Diana's new efficiency-focused approach and discovering they preferred people treating them as individuals. The board investigation revealed what I could have told them months earlier. Clients choose consulting partners based on trust, communication quality, feeling valued, not on how quickly calls get processed or efficiently concerns get categorized. Diana spent a year dismissing relationship building as inefficient social conversation. Now she faced consequences of that philosophy in defections threatening the entire company's survival. The final irony. 3 months after my departure, I got the call making this revenge story complete. Julian Brooks contacted me personally about what he called a potential partnership opportunity. Would Summit be interested in acquiring Sterling's remaining accounts and possibly hiring staff during what he described as strategic restructuring? The company that considered my relationship approach inefficient trash was now hoping to sell remaining assets to the firm built on exactly the principles Diana rejected. During our conversation, Julian mentioned they were reevaluating leadership approaches in client relations. Reading between lines, Diana's position was no longer secure. I have to ask, he said near call's end. What would it take bringing you back to Sterling as Director of Client Relations? We're prepared to offer significant compensation increases and complete autonomy over relationship strategies. The irony was staggering. 3 months after watching my work deleted in front of colleagues, I was being recruited back to implement the exact same approach at much higher salary, with complete authority over the department that rejected my methods. But I had zero interest returning to work for people who only learned to value my approach after losing millions in revenue. I appreciate the offer, I told him, but I'm very happy at Summit. They understood the value of personal client relationships from day one, rather than having to learn through crisis. 2 years later, 6 months after leaving Sterling, I was promoted to senior partner at Summit with equity and responsibility, expanding our relationship philosophy across multiple service lines. Clients who followed me from Sterling became the foundation for our most successful year in history. Meanwhile, Sterling underwent the restructuring Julian euphemistically described. Laid off 30% of staff, sold their largest office, ultimately merged with a competitor valuing efficiency over relationships. Diana was not retained during the merger. I learned about her departure through LinkedIn and professional conversations. According to former colleagues, she spent final months trying to rebuild relationships using the same impersonal approach that caused the crisis. She apparently never understood the problem wasn't her communication skills or technical knowledge. The problem was her fundamental belief that business relationships should be purely transactional. Last update I heard came from a mutual contact mentioning she was struggling finding comparable positions because her most recent role ended during a major retention crisis. Potential employers were understandably concerned hiring someone whose management approach contributed to significant revenue loss, especially in client-facing roles where relationship building was considered essential. The lesson: I felt no pleasure hearing about her career difficulties. My satisfaction came from knowing the principles she mocked were now recognized throughout our industry as essential for sustainable success. Every consulting firm was investing in personal relationship strategies. Every professional program emphasized treating clients as individuals rather than transaction sources. Every successful practice prioritized exactly the approach Diana considered inefficient trash. She'd been wrong about what clients valued, wrong about what drove success, wrong about the importance of personal connections in professional relationships, and her wrongness was revealed not through elaborate schemes or calculated attacks, but simply through allowing natural consequences to unfold after she chose to publicly destroy work, representing the foundation of customer loyalty. The most elegant revenge is always when your enemy defeats themselves through their own actions, and you simply step aside, letting their poor decisions create the destruction they deserve. Today, 2 years after watching my audit deleted in front of 23 colleagues, I'm running the client relations division for one of the fastest growing consulting firms in our region. Our success is built entirely on the principle Diana rejected. That business relationships thrive when people feel valued, understood, personally connected to their service providers. Every day, I work with clients who appreciate having birthdays remembered, family updates acknowledged, business challenges addressed with genuine personal investment in their success. And every day, I'm reminded that the best revenge against people who undervalue your contributions is simply proving them wrong through continued success elsewhere. Diana thought she was deleting inefficient documentation when she destroyed my relationship work. What she actually deleted was the only thing preventing her professional world from collapsing around her. Sometimes the most satisfying revenge is just letting people experience natural consequences of their own terrible decisions while you build something better somewhere else. If this story hit home, or if you've ever had someone undervalue work you knew was important, drop it in the comments below. Sometimes the best therapy for professional betrayal is sharing stories with people who understand what it feels like having your contributions dismissed by people who should know better. And if you enjoyed hearing how deleting my files became the beginning of Diana's downfall, please like this video and subscribe for more stories about workplace revenge that writes itself when you simply let incompetent managers face consequences of their own poor judgment.